Miriam Joy, and welcome to my studio. Today we are going to be working on our 4th of July ornament. And we're going to do this with a coyote gourd, and I'm going to start by showing you a different way to put your hanger on. As a lot of you know, I usually glue mine on instead of drilling it because I think a lot of times these are soft shell gourds, and when you drill them, a lot of times you can break them, and they're very hard to drill. Even though they're soft shell, they're hard in that area. And so what I have come up with is we're going to put our hanger on with quick wood. And if you've never used quick wood, I do have some videos on how to use it. You'll love this stuff. It sets up in about 20 minutes and you treat it like clay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our quick wood, we're going to cut as small a piece as possible. And by small, this is still going to be way too much for one, so you may want to line up and do several of your tops at one time. But peel the plastic off. I'm going to spray my hands with just a tad of just vegetable spray, like Pam or any of those. And this is 2 parts, and you have to knead it. That's real important. To activate it, it's a 2-part epoxy, and you must knead it. And quick wood is an item that we do sell at Miriam Joy. And another thing we do tell you to do, and I'm not going to do it, shame on me, is take your jewelry off because it's rock hard, including in your jewelry. But I'm just keeping this right here, my little fingertips. So I'm going to take my cording, and I'm going to tie a knot where I want the hanger to be lengthwise. Pull that nice and tight. I don't want my hanger too tall today. And then we're going to slip down the bead cap over the top of it. These nice big bead caps I do find at Hobby Lobby. And they come in silver and gold. So I'm just going to trim off the excess. Ooh! That was fun. And usually I make my knots enough that my bead cap doesn't fly away on me, so let me find my bead cap. That might be the question of the day to win a secret prize. Okay, so we want that big enough it doesn't slide through that hole or pull it tight enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this quick wood and we're going to place it in the bead cap. Now you don't want it too much on the sides, but you want enough that it's going to actually come through, and we're going to just take away that excess because you have to have enough for it to stick. And just push that all the way down, and then that extra comes through, and all you do is pull it off and put it back in your quick wood to use towards the next one. And there you have your hanger. It's going to stay on. It's going to be nice and hard. We even use our quick wood to put our hangers on our wall or anything like that. It makes it stick nice and good, even sometimes better than glue. So we've got our hanger put on our coyote gourd, and I'm going to switch over to another one. And I'm going to be using a hanger, and I think this is real important when you're working with this project. You need something that you can hang this on. You can makeshift one or do anything that you want to, that's fine. We're going to be using cerulean blue with a little bit of white to make it lighter, and then white and red Crayolas today. And it really is important that they are Crayola crayons. They're whiter and they're brighter. So I'm using my stipple brushes, and I'll show you what a stipple brush looks like if you haven't seen one. And we do carry these now, and I'm using these a lot more in the different videos and everything to apply the melted wax to. And I keep one for each color so I don't have to clean them, and we make them cost effective that you don't have to switch them out. So I've warmed this up in my crayon, and I'm going to come along the top. Now I want to bump up against this top part as much as possible so that there's no space between the wax and the bead cap. And then I'm going to bring this down just a tad. Now we don't want to bring down this too much because this area is going to melt and go down on its own quite a bit. So we don't want it very far because we don't want it to cover up our red, white, and blue stripes a lot. So we're just going to do about that much. Try not to go over your areas. If you need to go over them again, let them dry and then come back again on them. Otherwise, you're just going to pick up the wax. Now, if you're not familiar with this process, I do have a video on my YouTube videos. You can go to my website and you can see it there, or you can click on the YouTube videos and it is the one that shows up front. And it is a really great video that shows you the wax basics. So if you're not familiar with everything, for us to cover it in a video takes a lot of time, so we just refer you there, and it is free. Now, I'm going to start with my stipple brush in white, and I'm going to do, starting at the blue, and I'm going to take one all the way down, and then I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to start dividing it off into stripes. And I'm going to do the same thing, and I got little guys that are running away here. Okay, and then I'm going to divide it into 4s. And put the white before you put the red, because the white picks up the other colors. So if you put it on first, it's going to pick up the red. So we don't want to do that. We want to leave that through. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go back in between. So getting this nice and striped. And this is a real fun project. Really simple to do for the 4th of July. If you had different size tables, you could do different size hangers, different size ornaments to put on your table with the hangers, so they were all different size. I think that'd be really neat as well. Now, if you feel that any of your white is too thin, you can go back and you can put one more layer over the top of it. Make sure you reload each time in between. Now, depending on how many stripes, depends on the size of the gourd. I kind of got a lot going on here. We're going to come back in with our red now. And I think I would have rather had some wider strips, so maybe next time putting a couple at a time would have been good. And you want to make sure that you cover all of the gourd. You don't want to leave any unexposed area, because then the wax doesn't want to coat to it. So it's real important to do that. And I'm going to come down here, just finish these guys off. And it's going to melt down here anyway, so don't really worry about the bottom so much. Now, I'm going to set it on a tray. We're going to heat it up with our glue gun. And I recommend the tray because if you've got wax going everywhere, it's a good idea to kind of keep it contained. And I'm going to put a paper towel under it to catch the majority of the wax. And once it's heated and I get it to kind of where I want it, and remember it's still going to melt a little bit, so it's better start too early because you can melt more than it to melt too much. If you melt it too much, you don't like it, take it off, wipe it all off while it's warm, and start again. It's not a big deal. But it's better to underdo it and then go back and do it later. Now once it's warm, I'm going to add some sparkles on top. These are kind of octagon big glitters, and I think that kind of looks like fireworks. And you also could add some white or silver glitter. I think this would be pretty on the white area, so I might try to see if I can do a little bit of that, but kind of have that ready to go too, so you can get that on there right away. We're going to start at the top of this one, and we're going to work our way down, if I can get my cord here. just going to start getting it nice and warm, and you can see it'll start to turn liquid. Now remember, this is going to melt some more even after you get going, so don't melt it too far down. Just start melting the next layer down. You can see how that is already starting to go. You want to make sure that you kind of melt it all the way down. You don't want to have any of these drips. You want to try and melt your drips so it's kind of smooth. If you like the drips, that's okay. You can keep them. That's just kind of how I do it. And you're melting it all the way down to the bottom. See how that blue really takes over. And if you want to do different things, try different things on it. It's not a big deal. And we are almost there. So I'm going to try to add just a little bit of glitter to some of the white areas before it gets too cool here. It does not take much. Just know that. And you can always heat it up just a tad again. And that's what we're going to do on top when I get ready to put the bigger things in. And then you can, if you think it's not quite heated real well, you can just kind of heat those areas just to set it in. We're going to heat this up just a tad again. It doesn't take much once that's started getting liquefied. We're going to put our little kind of fireworks sprinkles. And you can see this is just barely any. There's not that many. It does not take a lot. Now, that was a little bit drier, so I'm going to set those in. I want a couple more right in that area. Okay, we have finished. Put your lids back on your glitter. Don't blow them with your heat gun. They will go everywhere. They will be crazy. So isn't that really, really pretty? Now, another thing I do is if you have like a little bump at the end, right when it's starting to, when you're working on it, right before it gets dry, just hit those with your finger and those will come off. And what I do to varnish these is I use the polyacrylic, and you can find this at Walmart. Or you can spray varnish it with Krylon. There's nothing wrong with this. This is just a heavier coat. You also could use our Dimensional Magic, but you're covering quite a bit of the gourd, but that's fine. You could use that as well. I stir this up, and then I just dip it and turn it in here, and then hang it back on my hanger, and it drips. But you've got it coated with a nice coat. And I will do probably 3 coats on that, letting it dry in between each time. And a lot of times what I'll do, if I have this big enough where I can set this right underneath, I just let it drip back into the can. That way I don't miss any. But you could also just leave one of here after you shake it kind of well. You also will end up with that drip at the very end. Just make sure you take your fingers and kind of knock that off so that you don't have that little drip. So that is our 4th of July. And I didn't tell you that I used gloss on this one. So when I dipped it, I got it clear up to the bead. Don't put your bead in, just dip it in there. If it's full, you'll kind of do it, turn it at an angle, but if it's not real full, you can dip it down into your polyacrylic and finish that up. So I hope you have lots of fun doing this. I'd love to see your pictures when you're done. For more of the products or anything that you need, the quick wood items or any of the tools that we're working with today, please visit my website at miriamjoy.com. Thank you for taking time to join me today. God bless.